In the vibrant town of Kijiji, nestled in the heart of Africa, lived two best friends, Mary and Sarah. They had been inseparable since childhood, sharing everything from secrets to dreams. Mary, with her radiant smile and kind heart, was loved by everyone in the village. Sarah, on the other hand, was known for her beauty and boldness. One sunny afternoon, as the two friends sat under their favorite baobab tree, Sarah leaned in and whispered, "Mary, have you noticed how Christopher looks at you?" Mary blushed, her heart fluttering. Christopher was the most handsome boy in the village, with his strong build and charming personality. He was also very kind and always helped anyone in need. Mary had secretly admired him for a long time, but never thought he would notice her. A week later, at the village's annual festival, Christopher asked Mary to dance. As they twirled under the starry sky, Mary felt like she was in a dream. They spent the entire evening together, laughing and talking about their hopes and aspirations. Watching from a distance, Sarah felt a pang of jealousy. She had always been the center of attention and wasn't used to seeing Mary in the spotlight. Determined to win Christopher's affection, Sarah devised a plan. The next day, Sarah invited Christopher to a picnic by the river. She wore her best dress and brought his favorite foods. As they sat by the water, Sarah started telling Christopher stories about her adventures and made him laugh with her witty remarks. Christopher enjoyed her company, but couldn't help but think about Mary. Over the next few weeks, Sarah continued to pursue Christopher, always finding ways to be around him. Mary noticed the change, but didn't say anything, trusting her friend and believing that Christopher would remain loyal. One evening, Sarah asked Christopher to meet her at the old mango tree. When he arrived, she confessed her feelings, saying, "Christopher, I've liked you for a long time. I think we would be perfect together." Christopher was taken aback. He respected Sarah, but his heart belonged to Mary. "Sarah, you are a wonderful person, but my feelings for Mary are strong. I can't ignore them." Hurt and angry, Sarah decided she wouldn't give up. She began spreading rumors about Mary, making it seem like she was not who everyone thought she was. The village buzzed with gossip, and Mary found herself isolated and heartbroken. Confused and upset, Mary confronted Sarah. "Why are you doing this? I thought we were best friends." Sarah's eyes were filled with tears. "I just wanted him to notice me, Mary. I've always been in your shadow." Mary felt a mix of anger and sadness. She had never imagined that her best friend could betray her like this. "Sarah, if you liked Christopher, you should have told me. We could have talked about it. But this isn't right." Sarah looked down, ashamed of her actions. The once inseparable friends now stood on opposite sides of a chasm created by jealousy and betrayal. As the days passed, Mary distanced herself from Sarah, focusing on her own growth and healing. Christopher, sensing the tension, tried to mend the rift between the two friends, but found it difficult. One evening, as the sun set over Kijiji, Christopher approached Mary. "Mary, I care about you deeply, but I can't stand seeing you hurt. We need to find a way to resolve this." Mary nodded, tears welling up in her eyes. "I don't know if things can ever go back to how they were, but I don't want to lose you or Sarah." Christopher took her hand. "Let's talk to her together. Maybe we can find a way to heal." The next morning, the three of them met under the baobab tree. The air was thick with tension, but there was also a glimmer of hope. Before they could begin, a voice called out from the village square, "Mary, Sarah, Christopher, come quick. There's an emergency." The The three friends hurried to the village square, their personal issues temporarily forgotten. The villagers were gathered around an elder, Jabari, who looked worried. "What's happening?" Christopher asked. Jabari explained, "There is a severe drought affecting our crops. If we don't find a solution soon, we could lose our harvest and face famine." The villagers murmured in concern. Mary, Christopher, and Sarah exchanged glances. Despite their differences, they knew they had to put the village first. Mary stepped forward. Jabari, is there anything we can do to help?" The elder nodded. "We need to find a way to bring water from the distant river. It's a difficult journey, but if we can build a channel, we might save our crops." Sarah, always brave and adventurous, volunteered immediately. "I'll go. I know the way to the river." Christopher nodded. "I'll go with you. We'll need all the help we can get." Mary hesitated, but then decided, "I'll join you too. We can do this together." The trio, along with a few other villagers, gathered supplies and set off on their journey. The path to the river was long and treacherous, filled with wild animals and rough terrain. But the three friends were determined to succeed. As they traveled, they talked and laughed, slowly mending their fractured bond. Sarah apologized to Mary again, and Mary, with a forgiving heart, accepted. Christopher admired their strength and felt hopeful that their friendship could be restored. One evening, while they rested by a campfire, Sarah shared a story about their childhood adventures. Mary and Christopher laughed, and for the first time in weeks, the tension between them eased. The next day, they reached the river. It was a majestic sight, with clear blue waters flowing steadily. They quickly began working on building a channel to redirect the water towards their village. It was hard work, but they didn't give up. As the sun set, they finally completed the channel. The water started flowing, slowly but surely making its way towards Kijiji. Exhausted but proud, they began their journey back home. When they returned to the village, they were greeted with cheers and gratitude. The villagers celebrated their success, and Jabari praised their courage and teamwork. As the celebration continued, Christopher took Mary and Sarah aside. "You both showed incredible strength and kindness on this journey. I hope we can all move forward together, stronger than before." Mary smiled. "We can. We've been through too much to let anything break us apart." Sarah nodded, her eyes shining with hope. "Let's make a promise, right here, under this baobab tree. We'll always support each other, no matter what." They joined hands and made their promise, sealing their renewed friendship. But as they stood there, a shadow loomed over the village, hinting at new challenges ahead. Little did they know, their bond would soon be tested in ways they could never have imagined. A few weeks passed since the water channel was built, and the village of Kijiji began to thrive again. The crops were growing, and the villagers were filled with hope. Mary, Sarah, and Christopher's friendship seemed stronger than ever. However, the shadow that had loomed over the village was about to reveal itself. One evening, as the trio sat under the baobab tree, Jabari approached them with a worried expression. "Children, I have grave news. The nearby village of Makanga is suffering from a mysterious illness. Many are falling sick, and they have asked for our help." Mary, Sarah, and Christopher exchanged concerned glances. "What can we do?" Christopher asked. "We need to find a healer who can identify and cure the illness," Jabari explained. "The healer, Mama Ndidi, lives deep in the forest. It's a dangerous journey, but I believe you three are the best hope we have." Without hesitation, the friends agreed. They packed supplies and set off early the next morning. The forest was dense and filled with the sounds of wildlife. As they ventured deeper, the path became less visible, and the air grew thick with humidity. Sarah led the way, using her boldness to navigate through the undergrowth. Mary followed, keeping a close eye on their surroundings, while Christopher ensured they stayed on the right path using a map Jabari had given them. As night fell, they set up camp. Sitting around the fire, Sarah turned to Mary. "Do you think we'll find Mama NDD in time?" Mary nodded, her voice filled with determination. "We have to. The people of Makanga are depending on us." Christopher added, "We can't let fear stop us. We've overcome so much already. We can do this." The next day, they continued their journey. They faced numerous challenges, from crossing a river with a broken bridge to navigating through thick vines. But they didn't give up. They relied on each other's strengths, just as they had during their previous adventure. Finally, after days of travel, they reached a small hut in a clearing. An elderly woman with wise eyes and a gentle smile greeted them. "I am Mama NDD. What brings you to my home, young ones?" Mary stepped forward and explained the situation. Mama NDD listened carefully and nodded. "I will help you, but first, you must gather 3 rare herbs from different parts of the forest. These herbs are essential for the cure." She handed them a small pouch with samples of the herbs and instructed them on where to find them. With a renewed sense of purpose, the friends set off once again. Their first destination was a grove of ancient trees, where the air was filled with the scent of wildflowers. They found the first herb growing near the roots of the oldest tree. As they carefully collected it, Mary noticed strange markings on the tree's bark. "These look like warnings," she said, showing the others. Christopher examined them closely. "It could be from the forest spirits. We should be cautious." Their next stop was a rocky hillside where the second herb grew between the cracks. The climb was steep, and at one point, Sarah slipped and nearly fell, but Christopher caught her just in time. "Thanks," she said, breathless but grateful. Christopher smiled. "We have to look out for each other." With the second herb secured, they headed to a misty valley for the final herb. The mist was so thick that they could barely see each other. They held hands to stay together, each step feeling more treacherous than the last. As they reached the center of the valley, they found the herb growing in a patch of sunlight. They carefully picked it and began their journey back to Mama Ndidi's hut. The journey back felt longer and more exhausting, but they finally reached the clearing. Mama Ndada welcomed them back with a warm smile. "You have done well. Now, I will prepare the cure." The healer worked through the night, mixing the herbs with other ingredients. By morning, she handed them a vial of the cure. "Take this to Makanga. It will heal the sick." Thanking Mama NDD, the friends hurried back to Kijiji and then on to Makanga. When they arrived, they found the village in dire straits, with many villagers bedridden and weak. They quickly administered the cure, and within hours, signs of recovery began to appear. The people of Makanga were overjoyed and grateful. The village elder, Bwana Niru, thanked them profusely. "You have saved our village. We are forever in your debt." As they prepared to return to Kijiji, Sarah turned to Mary and Christopher. "We did it. Together." Mary nodded, her heart full. "Yes, together." Christopher smiled, looking at his friends. "No matter what comes our way, we'll face it. Together." But as they made their way back home, a mysterious figure watched them from the shadows, hinting that their adventures were far from over. As Mary, Sarah, and Christopher returned to Kijiji, they couldn't shake the feeling that someone or something was watching them. The journey back was filled with uneasy glances over their shoulders, but they pushed through, eager to reunite with their village and share the news of their success. When they arrived in Kijiji, they were greeted with cheers and celebration. The villagers praised their bravery and the successful mission. Jabari smiled warmly. "You have done a great deed. We are proud of you." Days passed, and life in Kijiji returned to normal. The crops flourished, and the village thrived. Mary, Sarah, and Christopher settled back into their routines, though the shadow of the mysterious figure lingered in their minds. One evening, as the sun set and the village prepared for a quiet night, a stranger arrived in Kijiji. Cloaked in a dark robe, the figure moved silently through the village until it reached Jabari's hut. The elder welcomed the stranger cautiously. "Who are you, and what brings you to Kijiji?" The stranger lowered their hood, revealing a woman with piercing eyes and an air of authority. "I am Nia, a guardian of the forest. I have come with a warning." Mary, Sarah, and Christopher, who had been nearby, overheard and approached the hut. "What is the warning?" Christopher asked. Nia looked at them, her eyes full of concern. "There is a dark force awakening in the forest. It seeks to destroy the harmony of our lands. You three have proven your strength and unity, and you are needed once more." Mary felt a chill run down her spine. "What must we do?" Nia explained. "There is an ancient relic hidden deep within the forest, known as the Heart of Umoya. It has the power to protect our lands from evil, but it has been lost for centuries. You must find it and bring it back before the dark force grows too strong." Sarah, ever bold, stepped forward. "We will do it. Tell us where to start." Nia handed them a map, marked with cryptic symbols and paths. "This will guide you to the general area. The journey will be perilous, filled with challenges and trials, but I believe in your strength and bond." With the village's blessings, the trio set off on their new adventure. They followed the map into the dense forest, the air growing cooler and the light dimmer with each step. As they ventured deeper, they encountered their first trial, a labyrinth of thorns and vines that seemed to shift and change. Mary used her keen senses to find a safe path, while Christopher and Sarah worked together to clear the way. Hours passed, and they finally emerged from the labyrinth, only to find themselves facing a wide, turbulent river. The map indicated that the heart of Umoya lay beyond the river, but the waters were too dangerous to cross by swimming. Christopher spotted a fallen tree nearby. "We can use this as a bridge, but it will be risky." With great effort, they moved the tree to span the river. Sarah, with her steady balance, led the way, followed by Mary and Christopher. The tree creaked and swayed, but they made it across safely. As they continued, they noticed the forest growing darker and the air feeling heavier. Mary shivered. "I can feel the dark force Nia warned us about." Suddenly, shadows began to rise from the ground, forming menacing shapes that blocked their path. Christopher drew his spear, ready to defend his friends. "We need to stay together and fight." The shadows lunged at them, but the trio fought bravely. Mary used her agility to dodge and strike. Sarah's courage gave her strength, and Christopher's skill with his spear proved invaluable. Together, they managed to dispel the shadows, but it left them exhausted and wary. "We need to keep moving," Sarah urged. "We can't let the dark force stop us." With renewed determination, they pressed on, the map guiding them closer to their goal. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, They reached a hidden cave marked by ancient carvings. "This must be it," Mary said, her voice echoing in the cave's entrance. They entered the cave, the air cool and the walls covered in glowing symbols. At the center, on a stone pedestal, lay the heart of Umoya, a radiant gem pulsating with a warm, protective light. As they approached the gem, a deep voice rumbled through the cave. "Who dares to seek the heart of Umoya?" A spirit materialized before them, ancient and wise. "We are here to protect our land," Christopher said, standing tall. The spirit studied them, then nodded. "You have proven your worth. Take the heart of Umoya and use its power wisely." Mary carefully lifted the gem from its pedestal, feeling its warmth spread through her. "We will." With the heart of Umoya in their possession, they began their journey back to Kijiji, ready to face the dark force and protect their village. As Mary, Sarah, and Christopher made their way back through the forest, they felt the heart of Umoja's power coursing through them. The forest seemed less menacing, and the air felt lighter. However, they knew their final challenge awaited them in Kijiji. When they reached the edge of the forest, they saw a dark storm cloud hovering over their village. The dark force had arrived. Determined to protect their home, they pressed on, the heart of Umoya glowing brightly in Mary's hands. The villagers had gathered in the square, fear etched on their faces. Jabari stood at the forefront, trying to keep everyone calm. When he saw the trio, his eyes lit up with hope. "You have returned, and with the heart of Umoya." Before they could respond, a dark figure emerged from the storm cloud. It was a being of shadows, its eyes glowing red with malice. "Foolish mortals, you think you can stop me with that relic?" it hissed. Christopher stepped forward, spear in hand. "We will stop you. Together." The dark figure laughed, its voice echoing ominously. "Very well, let us see if your unity can withstand my power." The battle began, the dark figure unleashing waves of shadowy energy at the village. Mary, Sarah, and Christopher stood their ground, using the heart of Umoya to shield themselves and the villagers. The gem's light clashed with the dark energy, illuminating the square with brilliant flashes. Mary felt the heart of Umoya growing warmer in her hands. She knew they needed to focus its power to defeat the dark force. "Sarah, Christopher, we need to concentrate together. Focus on the heart." They formed a circle around the heart of Umoya, their hands touching the glowing gem. Closing their eyes, they concentrated, letting their combined strength and unity flow into the relic. The heart of Umoya responded, its light intensifying and expanding, pushing back the shadows. The dark figure roared in anger, its form beginning to waver. "No, this cannot be," it shrieked. But the trio didn't waver. They channeled all their love for their village, their friendship, and their determination into the heart of Umoya. The light grew blinding, enveloping the dark figure completely. With a final, desperate cry, the dark figure shattered into fragments, which dissolved into nothingness. The storm cloud dissipated, and the sky cleared, bathing Kijiji in warm sunlight. The villagers cheered, rushing forward to embrace Mary, Sarah, and Christopher. Jabari approached them, tears of joy in his eyes. "You have saved us all. The heart of Umoja's power, combined with your unity, has vanquished the darkness." Mary smiled, her heart swelling with pride and relief. "We did it together." Sarah and Christopher nodded, their faces reflecting the same emotions. The village celebrated their heroes, throwing a grand feast in their honor. As night fell, the friends sat under the baobab tree, the heart of Umoya now resting safely in the village's shrine. Sarah looked at her friends, her eyes shining. Christopher nodded. Our bond is our greatest strength. Mary smiled, feeling a deep sense of peace. No matter what comes our way, we will always face it together. The stars twinkled above them, and the village of Kijiji settled into a peaceful night, knowing that as long as they had the heart of Umoja and the unity it represented, they could overcome any challenge. And so, the story of Mary, Sarah, and Christopher became a cherished legend, inspiring generations to come with the power of friendship and the strength of unity.